War is chaos. But sometimes, buried beneath the explosions and politics, you find stories so unreal they sound like fiction. Moments of courage, insanity, luck, and pure defiance. These aren't rumors or legends. These are 5 true stories from the Russia-Ukraine war, each more shocking than the last. Let's start with a tank. Not a battle, not an army, just a man and a tank. In the early days of the invasion, a Ukrainian farmer near Kherson saw something strange on the road. A Russian T-80 tank, fully intact, completely abandoned. No soldiers, no guards, just sitting there. So, he did what any logical person would do in a war zone. He hooked it up to his tractor and stole it. Footage of this spread across the internet like wildfire. A rusty blue tractor towing a modern Russian tank down a dirt road while locals cheered in the background. No one could believe it. It wasn't just hilarious, it was symbolic. A civilian, outgunned and outmatched, humiliating one of the most powerful armies in the world with farm equipment. That tank wasn't the only one. In fact, Ukrainian civilians began doing this over and over again. Some reports say they captured dozens of Russian vehicles this way. Untrained villagers were hauling away millions of dollars of military hardware. The message was clear. Even in the face of destruction, the Ukrainian people weren't backing down. They were improvising and winning. But not every story ends with a laugh. Some reveal the darkness of war and the humanity that survives it. In March 2022, in the occupied town of Motizhin, a mayor named Olga Sukenko was taken from her home by Russian soldiers, along with her husband and her son. They were seen being loaded into a vehicle and driven away. Then for days, nothing. Locals feared the worst. And they were right. When Ukrainian forces retook the area, they found a shallow grave. Inside were the bodies of all 3, tortured, shot, and dumped like trash. Why? Because Olga refused to cooperate. She wouldn't help the Russians hand over her town. She chose resistance over survival. Her entire family paid the price. That story hit hard across Ukraine. Olga wasn't a soldier. She wasn't on a battlefield. She was a local leader who stood her ground and gave everything for it. But even in war, sometimes the most unreal stories come from the sky. In the first week of the invasion, a rumor started flying around social media. A mysterious pilot was dominating the skies over Kyiv. They said he was taking down Russian aircraft left and right. 6 kills in a day, 10 by the end of the week. He became known as the Ghost of Kiev. Ukrainians posted footage of jets, dogfights, explosions. Clips were edited into montages. People made art, memes, even songs. The Ghost wasn't just a pilot, he was a legend. But as the weeks passed, questions started to surface. Was he real? Were those even Ukrainian planes in the videos? Eventually, the Ukrainian Air Force admitted something. The Ghost of Kiev wasn't one man. He was a myth, a morale booster, a symbol of resistance, not a single pilot. But here's the thing. That didn't make the story fake. Because Ukrainian fighter pilots were taking on an overwhelming enemy force, and they were scoring kills in outdated jets against superior Russian hardware. The Ghost was a symbol, but the courage behind him was absolutely real, and it mattered. In those first terrifying weeks, while tanks rolled in and the world doubted Ukraine's chances, the myth of the Ghost helped people believe they could fight back and win. But not all resistance comes from jets or rifles. Some of it comes from silence. Mariupol was a city under siege, blockaded, bombed, starved. In the middle of that hell, Russian forces captured a group of Ukrainian medics. Among them was Yulia Pyevska, a volunteer combat medic known by her call sign, Tyra. Before she was taken, she hid a data card inside a tampon wrapper and handed it to a journalist. That tiny card held hours of GoPro footage of her and her team treating wounded civilians and soldiers from both sides. Footage that proved Ukrainian medics weren't killing, they were saving lives. That card was smuggled out. The footage made headlines. The Russians denied everything, but the world saw the truth. Tyra spent 3 brutal months in captivity. She was beaten, interrogated, humiliated. They tried to break her. But when she was finally released in a prisoner swap, she walked out standing tall, holding back tears, and said just one thing: "I will go back." That's the kind of courage that doesn't make the front page, but it shakes the enemy just the same. Now for the final story, the one that feels like a Hollywood script, if Hollywood had the guts to write it. In April 2022, the world learned about a small unit of Ukrainian special forces who launched a daring night raid behind enemy lines. Their mission: sneak into the occupied town of Kreminna, neutralize the Russian command post, and extract a captured officer. They moved in total silence, through forests, past mines, avoiding drones. The entire mission was supposed to take 4 hours. It took 12. They got in. They found the officer. They took out the guards. And as they began the exfiltration, they were spotted. All hell broke loose. A firefight erupted in the woods. Outnumbered and outgunned, they held their ground for over an hour, trading shots in the darkness. One soldier used his own body to shield the wounded officer. Another laid suppressing fire until his weapon jammed, then switched to a pistol and kept going. No one believed they could pull it off. Even their own commanders had doubts. But those soldiers proved that courage doesn't come from numbers. It comes from the willingness to go, even when the odds are garbage and the outcome is a coin toss. These aren't just war stories. They're snapshots of what people are capable of, when everything is on the line. A farmer stealing tanks, a mother refusing to kneel, a myth that gave hope, a medic who risked everything for the truth, and a team that walked into the lion's den and came back with blood on their boots and victory in their hands. If you found these stories powerful, don't forget to subscribe, because this war isn't over, and neither are the stories coming out of it. And if you made it this far, remember, behind every headline is a human being, scared, brave, broken, angry, fighting. You've just heard 5 of the most shocking stories from the Russia-Ukraine war. But trust me, there are more.